How to outthink any obstacle and win before you even begin. Have you ever watched someone navigate a crisis with eerie calm while everyone around them panics? Have you noticed how certain people seem to always be 3 steps ahead, making choices that look effortless but yield extraordinary results? What if I told you that this isn't luck, talent, or some mystical gift? What if the difference between those who thrive and those who merely survive comes down to one skill, one that anyone can learn? That skill is strategic thinking. And it's about to change everything for you. Let me start with a question that cuts to the heart of it all. When life throws you a curveball, when the ground shifts beneath your feet, when everything you planned falls apart, do you react or do you respond? Do you let emotions take the wheel, or do you pause, assess, and choose your next move with precision? That pause, that brief moment of intentional thought, is where ordinary people become extraordinary. It's where chaos transforms into clarity. It's where you stop being a passenger in your own life and become the architect of your destiny. This is what strategic thinking is all about. And whether you know it or not, you already have everything you need to master it. Most people live their entire lives on autopilot. They wake up, scroll through their phones, react to whatever the day throws at them, respond to emails, run errands, put out fires, and collapse into bed wondering where the time went. When problems arise, they respond with urgency instead of clarity. Panic, frustration, and fear drive their decisions. They're playing checkers while life demands chess. But strategic thinkers play a different game entirely. They pause. They observe. They plan. They don't just think about what's happening right now. They consider what happens 5 steps from now. They ask questions most people never even think to ask. What's the long game here? How does this fit into the bigger picture? What's the ripple effect of this choice? What am I not seeing that could change everything? This mindset is the reason some people navigate chaos with calm, pivot under pressure, and create breakthrough results while others are constantly firefighting. And here's the beautiful truth. Strategic thinking isn't just for military generals, CEOs, or political masterminds. It's for you, right now, in whatever situation you're facing. Let me be clear about what strategic thinking actually is, because there are a lot of misconceptions floating around. Strategic thinking is not about being manipulative, cold, or calculating in some dark way. It's not about plotting endlessly or trying to outwit everyone in your life. And it's definitely not some elite skill reserved for boardrooms and war rooms. Strategic thinking is simply a way of approaching problems and opportunities with clarity, foresight, and intelligence. It means being intentional instead of reactive. It means thinking before you act, choosing your battles wisely, and anticipating consequences before they unfold. It's about seeing patterns where others see randomness, understanding systems where others see chaos, and knowing which levers to pull to create the biggest impact with the least wasted effort. And it's deeply personal. Strategic thinking can help you decide how to respond when your partner is upset with you. It can guide you through career changes, difficult conversations, parenting dilemmas, business challenges, and financial uncertainty. It gives you control where others feel chaos. It gives you choice where others feel cornered. It transforms confusion into confidence. Think of it as your internal GPS. You input your destination, assess your starting point, skim the possible routes, identify the roadblocks, and then move forward calmly and confidently. No panic. No paralysis. Just progress. Now, why does strategic thinking matter more than ever? Because we live in the age of information overload and constant distraction. The speed of the world is increasing exponentially, but strategic thinking teaches you to slow down your mind even when everything around you is speeding up. It's the difference between being swept away by a storm and learning to navigate it like a skilled sailor. Strategic thinking helps you make better decisions faster. It reduces stress and emotional reactivity. It clarifies your goals and priorities. It gives you an edge in work, relationships, and daily life. And perhaps most importantly, it builds confidence through clarity. When you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, uncertainty loses its power over you. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine two people lose their job unexpectedly. Person A panics. They send out hundreds of resumes in a frenzy, take the first job that responds, and spend the next year feeling stuck, underpaid, and burned out. Why? Because they reacted. They let fear drive their decisions. Person B, on the other hand, takes a day to process the shock. Then they step back and think strategically. They assess their finances and determine how long they can sustain themselves. They consider their long-term career goals and what kind of work would actually fulfill them. They reach out to mentors for guidance. They update their skills in areas that matter. And they only apply to positions that align with their values, strengths, and vision for their future. Within months, they land a role that not only pays better but also fuels their passion and opens new doors. Same event. Two wildly different outcomes. The difference? One person reacted emotionally. The other strategized with clarity. Look at the most successful people in any field. Entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, leaders. What do they all have in common? Yes, they work hard. Yes, they're disciplined. But above all else, they are strategic. They don't just show up and hope for the best. They plan. They pivot. They calculate risk. They know when to say yes, and more importantly, they know when to say no. They know how to think several moves ahead, anticipate obstacles, and stay focused on the goal even when everything gets messy. Strategic thinking allows you to control the controllables, manage uncertainty, and maximize opportunity. And here's the secret that changes everything. It's not about having perfect plans. It's about developing the skill to adjust intelligently as things change. The best strategists aren't rigid. They're adaptable, resilient, and crystal clear on what matters most. Now let's talk about what makes someone a strategic thinker. It starts with replacing emotional reactions with calm analysis. Let's be honest about emotions, because we all have them. And emotions are not the enemy. They're signals. They give you valuable information about how you feel. But they're not always the best decision makers. Imagine you're driving and someone cuts you off. Your heart races. You want to honk, shout, maybe even chase them down. But if you pause for even a second and think strategically, you realize this moment doesn't deserve your energy. It's not worth the risk or the emotional drain. Now apply that same principle to bigger moments. An argument with a loved one. A setback at work. A financial crisis. A health scare. Your first emotional reaction might be fear, anger, or hopelessness. But if you've trained your mind to pause, you can acknowledge those feelings without being controlled by them. Here's a practical tool I want you to start using immediately. The 3-second rule. Before you respond to anything that triggers you, pause for 3 seconds and ask yourself these questions. What outcome do I want? Is this reaction helping or hurting that outcome? What would the strategic version of me do next? These 3 seconds can save relationships, preserve your energy, and completely change the course of situations. The goal isn't to suppress your emotions. It's to manage them with wisdom. Think of your emotions like weather. You can't control the storm, but you can choose how you dress for it, how you move through it, and whether you run blindly or walk with intention. Strategic thinking also requires mental discipline and long-term thinking. And this is the part most people avoid, because discipline isn't glamorous. It's not exciting. But it's absolutely essential. Mental discipline means practicing the ability to delay gratification, resist impulsive urges, and think beyond this hour, this day, this week. Ask yourself regularly. Where do I want to be 6 months from now? What would the version of me a year from now thank me for doing today? What habits, thoughts, or people are pulling me off course? Most people make decisions based on how they feel right now. Strategic thinkers make decisions based on where they want to be later. That's not always fun. It takes restraint. But it pays off every single time. Here's another mental tool that's incredibly powerful. The future you test. Before you make a decision, imagine your future self watching you. Would they applaud your choice or cringe at the consequences? This habit trains you to zoom out and see the bigger picture. And when you can zoom out, you gain perspective. You stop sweating small stuff. You stop chasing instant wins that sabotage long-term goals. Let me give you a real-world example. Say you're offered a new job. It pays well, but the hours are brutal and the environment is toxic. A reactive mind might say, "I need money." Say yes. A strategic mind says, "Yes, money is important, but what will this cost me long-term? My health? My peace of mind? My time with family? My mental well-being?" That pause could lead you to negotiate better terms, find a smarter option, or prepare a transition plan that doesn't sacrifice your soul for a paycheck. Now, can strategic thinking be learned, or are some people just born with it? Let me reassure you completely. Strategic thinking is 100% learnable. But like any skill, it needs practice, repetition, and intentionality. Here are a few ways to train your strategic mind every single day. First, ask better questions. Every time you face a challenge, ask, what's the real issue here? What would success look like? What's the smartest next step? Strategic thinkers don't obsess over problems. They obsess over clarity. Second, journal your decisions. Take 5 minutes at the end of your day to reflect. What choices did I make today? Did I act strategically or react emotionally? What will I do differently tomorrow? This builds awareness and consistency over time. Third, play mental chess. When you're in a tough spot, don't just focus on the first move. Think 2, 3, even 4 moves ahead. Ask, if I do this, what happens next? And after that? Just like chess, life rewards those who can anticipate, not just respond. Fourth, surround yourself with strategists. Your environment matters enormously. Spend time around people who think long-term, who make thoughtful choices, who value growth over gossip. Their habits will rub off on you. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose wisely. You were not born to live on autopilot. You were built to lead, to make powerful, intelligent, and thoughtful decisions. Every single challenge in your life becomes more manageable when you switch from a reactive mindset to a strategic one. This isn't just a skill you're learning. It's an identity shift. You're no longer the person who panics, overreacts, or spirals when things get tough. You're the person who pauses, evaluates, and plays the long game. So today, start claiming that new identity. Practice the pause. Ask the smarter question. Choose the next move, not the next impulse. Now let's talk about clarity, because clarity is power. And if you want to be strategic, you need to know exactly what you're aiming for. Let me ask you a question, one that sounds simple but reveals everything. What do you really want? Most people can't answer that with any real precision. They'll say things like, I want to be successful. I want to be happy. I want to make more money. But that's vague. That's not a strategy. That's a wish. Strategic thinking begins with clarity. Because if you don't know exactly what you're aiming for, you can't build a smart plan to get there. And if you don't have a clear destination, every detour starts to look like an opportunity. Vague goals create real problems. Imagine getting into your car and driving without a destination. You could burn gas for hours, turn in circles, end up lost, or worse, nowhere. But that's exactly how most people live their lives. They wake up and react to whatever feels urgent. They chase random opportunities. They copy what others are doing. But they never stop to ask, is this actually moving me closer to what I truly want? Without clarity, you say yes to distractions. You waste time on goals that aren't even yours. You confuse activity with progress. That's the hidden danger of being busy. You can stay in constant motion without actually moving forward. But clarity fixes all of that. When you know your endgame, every decision becomes easier. You stop reacting and start aligning. You stop second-guessing and start moving with purpose. So the question isn't what do I want to achieve? The better question is who do I want to become? Because here's the deepest truth about lasting change. It's not about outcomes. It's about identity. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. Think about it. You might start a habit because you want a certain outcome. Maybe you want to lose weight, so you start going to the gym. But the real reason you'll stick with it long term isn't the outcome. It's when you start to see yourself as the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. When your identity shifts from I'm trying to lose weight to I'm a healthy person, everything changes. The behavior follows naturally from the belief. This is why someone trying to quit smoking might struggle when they say, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." That statement implies they still identify as a smoker who's simply resisting their urges. But when they say, "No thanks, I don't smoke," they've already changed their identity. They're not resisting temptation. They're acting in alignment with who they already are. So how do you define your true goals? Go deeper than surface-level answers. Ask yourself these questions. What does success look like in my eyes, not anyone else's? What kind of lifestyle do I want to live? What impact do I want to have on others? What do I want to be known for? When I look back 10 years from now, what will I regret not doing? You're not just chasing a career, a relationship, or a title. You're chasing a feeling, a life, a legacy. The more specific you get, the more powerful your vision becomes. Specificity fuels strategy. Instead of saying, "I want to be successful," say, "I want to build a business that gives me freedom and helps people solve real problems. I want to be debt-free and invest a significant amount by age 40. I want to work 4 days a week and spend Fridays with my family." That's real clarity. And real clarity leads to real action. Once you've defined your goal, don't just admire it. Reverse engineer it. Strategic thinkers don't just dream forward. They plan backward. They look at the end result and ask, what would have to happen for this to be true? Let's say your endgame is to become a published author. Start by imagining the moment you're holding your book in your hands. Now ask, what's the step right before this? Maybe it's getting a publishing deal. Before that? Finishing your manuscript. Before that? Writing the chapters. Before that? Outlining your book. Before that? Carving out time every week to write. Suddenly, your goal isn't just a fantasy. It's a series of clear, manageable steps. This is called reverse engineering, and it's the fastest way to turn a dream into a strategy. Here's another example. Say your goal is financial independence in the next 10 years. Ask yourself, what does financial independence mean to me specifically? How much money? What kind of lifestyle? How much do I need to earn, save, and invest each year? What skills or opportunities would make that possible? What can I start doing this month to move in that direction? You break the big goal into small, trackable milestones. And those milestones become your roadmap. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they don't know the steps. Strategic thinkers map the steps in reverse, then execute them in order. Now let's talk about outcome-driven priorities. Clarity without action is just noise. That's why strategic thinkers don't just ask, what should I do? They ask, what matters most right now based on where I want to go? Not all tasks are created equal. Some things feel urgent, but they don't really matter. Other things don't feel urgent, but they're massively important. Strategic thinkers prioritize based on impact, not impulse. Let's say your goal is to launch a side business in 6 months. You could scroll through branding ideas for hours, watch YouTube videos on logo design, or spend that time building your first product, reaching out to potential clients, or validating your idea. Which one moves you forward fastest? Every day, ask yourself, is this task directly aligned with my endgame? Will this get me closer to my goal or just keep me busy? Here's a tool I call the Power Priority Filter. Write down your top 3 goals. Then write your weekly to-do list. For every task, ask, does this directly support one of my top 3 goals? If not, eliminate it, delegate it, or delay it. This one habit will save you hundreds of hours over the next year. It also gives you a powerful word, no. Because once you know your destination, you're allowed, in fact required, to say no to things that don't help you get there. Remember, saying no to good things is how you say yes to great ones. Here's a powerful exercise I want you to try. Define your entire strategy in one sentence. For example, I'm building a coaching business to replace my 9-to-5 income in 12 months. Or I'm prioritizing health and strength so I can live 20 more high-quality years. Or I'm creating digital products to earn passive income and buy back my time. This forces clarity. If you can't explain your strategy in one sentence, you're not clear yet. Write it down. Read it daily. Let it guide your choices. Now let's talk about information, because in strategy, information is ammunition. Imagine walking onto a battlefield. You can't see the terrain. You don't know where the obstacles are. You have no idea what resources are available. Would you charge forward? Of course not. Yet that's how most people approach life, business, relationships, even their health. They act without insight. They move before learning. But strategic thinkers know that knowledge is power, but only if it's the right knowledge. The goal isn't to know everything. It's to know enough of the right things to make a smart move. Let's say you're launching a business. What information do you actually need? Who are your customers? What do they already buy? What do they complain about? What's missing in the market? What are your competitors doing, and more importantly, not doing? You don't need an MBA to gather this. You just need curiosity and discipline. Here's the shift. Stop guessing. Start discovering. Make research part of your strategy, not as a stall tactic, but as your launchpad. When gathering information, apply 3 filters: relevance, timeliness, and credibility. Relevance: does this information actually help me make a decision or solve a problem I have right now? Avoid going down rabbit holes just to feel smart. Timeliness: is this recent? The world changes fast. Don't base your strategy on 5-year-old advice. Credibility: who is giving this information? Are they proven, experienced, or just loud? The internet is full of noise. Your job is to find the signal. Once you have a few trustworthy sources, go wide first, then go deep. And here's the key: don't stop at surface-level facts. Ask yourself, what's the implication of this? What's the context? How does this apply to my specific situation? Strategic thinkers never stop at what happened. They ask, why did it happen? And what can I learn from it? Now let's address the danger zones: paralysis by analysis and reckless execution. Some people research endlessly, gathering more and more information, hoping for the perfect answer. But perfection is a myth. You'll never feel 100% ready. Other people act impulsively. They don't plan. They don't check. They just move and crash. Both extremes are dangerous. Here's a better approach. Learn just enough to understand the landscape. Identify your knowledge gaps. Fill the most important ones. Move forward with a strong but flexible plan. Think of it like this: don't build a house without a blueprint, but also don't keep redrawing the blueprint forever. Your goal is not perfect information. Your goal is sufficient strategic intelligence. Here's where strategy separates itself from trivia. Collecting facts is not enough. You need to turn information into insight. That means asking, what patterns do I see here? What's working and why? Where are the gaps? What are others missing that I can use to my advantage? Let's say you're preparing for a career change. You research the job market, identify in-demand skills, and notice that your ideal role values storytelling and data analysis. That's an insight. Now you can act. Learn those 2 skills. Build a project around them. Position yourself accordingly. That's research turned into strategy. Strategic thinkers also understand the importance of seeing the big picture. Picture two people playing chess. One is focused on their next move. The other is watching the entire board, thinking several moves ahead, considering not just pieces but patterns. Who wins? It's the one who sees the big picture. In life, business, relationships, and decision-making, it's never just about what's right in front of you. The most powerful strategists don't just react to what's happening. They see the board. They know how the pieces fit. They understand the patterns. They anticipate what's coming next. At the heart of big-picture thinking is systems thinking. This is the ability to see how parts connect to the whole. Instead of viewing problems in isolation, you recognize patterns, interdependencies, and hidden causes. Imagine you're a manager and your team's productivity is dropping. Most people would just look at the individuals, work harder, fix your habits. But a systems thinker asks, has the workload changed? Are the tools outdated? Is communication breaking down? Is something upstream causing a downstream effect? They zoom out to identify root causes, not just symptoms. Every challenge is part of a system. And once you understand the system, you can influence it, redesign it, outsmart it. Strategic thinkers also have a special ability: they connect dots that others miss. They see connections across industries, disciplines, and even time. While most people are stuck in their lane, strategists are scanning the horizon looking for trends, tipping points, ripple effects, relationships between forces. Big picture thinking also trains your brain to recognize patterns. And patterns are the strategist's greatest weapon. Why? Because human behavior, market behavior, and even personal growth all follow patterns. Once you recognize a pattern, you can predict outcomes, avoid repeating mistakes, and identify leverage points. Let's say you notice a pattern in your own decision-making. You rush when under pressure. That's a strategic insight. Now you can plan for it, slow down, and create protocols that protect you. Or maybe you see that every time your team launches a new product without customer feedback, it flops. That's a pattern. Now you adjust your process. Great strategists don't just work harder. They work smarter because they learn from patterns. Now let's talk about anticipation, because this is where strategy becomes almost magical. There's a moment in every game, every negotiation, every challenge when the one who sees ahead quietly takes the lead. No drama, no sudden moves, just calm calculation. They already know what's coming. They've already thought it through. Strategic thinkers don't wait for the wave to hit. They watch the tide and position themselves before the storm. They don't just prepare for what's likely. They prepare for what's possible. What separates the amateur from the master? It's not memorization. It's anticipation. The master knows that every move changes the shape of the future. So they don't just ask, what do I want to do next? They ask, what will this trigger? How will the other side respond? Where will this lead 5 moves from now? In life, this might look like starting a side hustle knowing it'll open future freedom. Saying no to an opportunity because it leads to the wrong kind of yes. Investing in a relationship knowing the trust built now pays off later. It's not magic. It's foresight. And foresight is a skill. You build it by stepping outside the moment and asking, if I take this path, what's likely to happen next? Then following the chain forward. The more you do this, the more natural it becomes. Life isn't linear. It throws curveballs, detours, and surprises. That's why great strategists don't just plan. They scenario plan. Instead of betting everything on a single outcome, they prepare for multiple possibilities. Think in scenarios. The likely scenario: what is the most probable outcome? This is your baseline plan. The best case scenario: if things go better than expected, what's your play? The worst case scenario: if things go wrong, how do you protect yourself? What's your exit strategy? The wild card: what if something completely unexpected happens? How do you stay adaptable? This approach removes fear and builds confidence. Because now obstacles aren't failures. They're alternate routes. Strategic thinkers also master the art of reading people. Because when you can anticipate human behavior, you become unstoppable. Every decision, every negotiation, every collaboration involves people. And people, despite their uniqueness, follow predictable patterns if you know what to look for. Study motivations. Ask, what does this person really want? Is it respect, security, power, freedom, recognition? Watch patterns. How do they behave under pressure? Listen between the lines. What's not being said? Anticipate reactions. If you challenge them, will they get defensive? If you praise them, will they open up? When you learn to read people like this, your strategic options multiply. Now let's talk about timing, because there's a saying among seasoned strategists, the right move at the wrong time is still the wrong move. Power, insight, even bold vision, none of it matters if your timing is off. Most people lose not because they lack ideas, ambition, or talent, but because they move too fast. They chase the short-term win. They act on impulse. They push when they should pause. Why? Because patience feels like weakness. It feels like doing nothing. But in reality, patience is power in disguise. True strategic patience is active. It means waiting with awareness, preparing while others panic, observing when others rush. The difference between motion and progress is understanding that the goal isn't to act fast. It's to act right. So how do you know when it's the right time to move? Look for high-leverage moments. These are moments where small actions create massive results. The one conversation that shifts an entire deal. The one tweak that transforms a failing project. The one message sent at just the right hour. Watch for tension peaks. Often the best time to act is when tension is highest, when your action can bring clarity or resolution. Time the market, not the mood. Align your moves with external readiness, not internal impatience. Monitor signals beneath the surface. Look for shifts in behavior, timing, readiness. And avoid impulse decisions. Build in a delay rule. For any big decision, pause for 24 hours. Ask the 5-year question, will this matter in 5 years? Check your triggers. Recognize what throws off your timing: fear, ego, boredom, urgency. On the flip side, avoid analysis paralysis. Set a decision deadline. Define enough information. Use the 70% rule. If you're 70% confident, move. Trust the process, not just the outcome. Strategy is a dance between patience and precision. You need to wait long enough to see the full picture, but act fast enough to seize your moment. Let's talk about leverage, because there's a secret behind every outsized success story. It's not always about hustle. It's about leverage. Leverage means using a small input to create a massive output. A single person can't lift a car. But give them a hydraulic jack, and suddenly what was impossible becomes effortless. That's leverage, and it's available to you right now. Leverage is using minimal effort, resources, or time to generate maximum impact. It's about creating a force multiplier. A single social media post that brings in thousands of customers. An automation that saves you 5 hours a week. A connection that opens doors to new partnerships. A decision that removes 10 daily problems at once. The best strategists aren't just asking, what do I need to do? They're asking, how can I make this easier, smarter, and more effective? Look at your goals and ask, where am I putting in 80% effort for 20% result? Where am I getting 80% of my results from only 20% of my actions? This is the famous 80-20 rule. Most of your results come from a small number of your inputs. The trick is to double down on the few things that matter most. Common leverage points include time leverage. What can you automate, delegate, or eliminate? Skill leverage. What unique skill gives you the biggest return? Network leverage. Who do you know that already has access, answers, or influence? And platform leverage. Are you building assets that work while you sleep? The goal isn't to do more. It's to do less, better. One of the most powerful but underused forms of leverage is other people. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know someone who does. Build relationship leverage by being a giver first. Map your network. Collaborate, don't compete. Leverage mentors and allies. We also live in an era where technology is leverage on tap. Automate repetitive tasks. Use AI as an amplifier. Build or use systems. Make one-time investments that produce long-term leverage. Leverage isn't laziness. It's intelligence. It's the difference between digging with a spoon and digging with an excavator. Now, life rarely goes according to plan. Your strategy might be solid. Your goals might be clear. Then the world shifts. A curveball comes your way. The rules change. The unexpected arrives. This is where many people freeze, panic, or quit. But not the strategic thinker. The plan matters, but the ability to pivot matters more. Adaptability isn't weakness. It's intelligence in motion. Strategic agility means you can respond to change with clarity, make quick but thoughtful decisions, and realign your actions without abandoning your long-term vision. When everything feels urgent, the worst thing you can do is react on impulse. Take a breath. Create space. Reassess the landscape. Define the new objective. Pivoting isn't about giving up. It's about recalculating. Use the OODA loop, observe what are the facts right now. Orient, what do they mean in your context? Decide, what's the best option available? Act, move swiftly and prepare to repeat the cycle. Hold your vision, but loosen the plan. Your why shouldn't change every week, but your how should. Flexibility isn't about losing sight of the goal. It's about finding a better road when the old one crumbles. The world is changing faster than ever. Rigid minds break. Reactive minds panic. But strategic minds pivot, adjust, evolve. Adaptation is not a backup plan. It's your greatest edge. Now let's talk about influence, because in the chess game of life and leadership, brute force is rarely the winning move. True power lies in influence, the subtle art of guiding others' thoughts, feelings, and actions. Before you can influence others, you must understand what moves them. People are predictably irrational. Most decisions are influenced by emotion, habit, and bias. Understanding these predictable quirks helps you anticipate responses and guide outcomes. Humans are wired for three universal needs: autonomy, the desire to feel in control; belonging, the need to connect; and competence, the urge to feel capable. When your strategy taps into these needs, you activate powerful motivators. Persuasion starts with listening. Before you influence, you must understand. What are their fears? What do they value? Speak their language. Adapt your message to the audience's worldview. Use words and frames that connect with their values. The principle of reciprocity is powerful. People feel compelled to return favors. Give first. It creates goodwill and subtle obligation. But remember, authenticity is key. Manipulation backfires. With great power comes great responsibility. Ethical influence means respecting autonomy, avoiding manipulation, and seeking win-win outcomes. Be transparent. Listen more than you speak. Aim for mutual benefit. Respect boundaries. The most powerful battles aren't fought with weapons. They're fought in the mind. Finally, let's talk about execution, because none of this matters if you don't execute. Execution is where dreams meet reality. It's the bridge between your ideas and outcomes. A great strategy without execution is just a wish. The difference between winners and dreamers is simple: winners do what they say they'll do. Break your vision into small, clear steps. Set deadlines and accountability. Eliminate distractions and bottlenecks. Build keystone habits, small actions that trigger positive ripple effects. Create systems for repetition. Track key metrics. What matters gets measured. Reflect and adapt regularly. Celebrate wins and learn from losses. Strategy without execution is like a map without a journey. Execution turns your mental game into real-world impact. You now hold the tools to outsmart any challenge. A strategic mindset that thinks before reacting. Clarity in your goals and priorities. The ability to gather and use information wisely. Seeing the big picture and anticipating obstacles. Mastering timing, leverage, and agility. Influencing others ethically and effectively. And finally, executing with discipline and reflection. This is the art of strategic thinking. Strategic thinking isn't a skill you switch on and off. It's a way of living. Every decision, every conversation, every action becomes an opportunity to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast. Make these questions a habit. How does this choice serve my long-term goals? What's the bigger picture here? What can I learn and improve from this moment? Over time, your mind will naturally move toward strategy, not reaction. Life will throw obstacles. Some will surprise you. Some will shake your confidence. But when you live as a master tactician, you become unshakable. You don't panic. You don't freeze. You assess, adapt, and move forward, always with purpose. Challenges become your training ground. Failures become feedback. With your strategic edge, you turn uncertainty into advantage. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Every strategic thinker started with curiosity and a willingness to learn. Keep honing your mindset. Keep practicing your skills. And most importantly, keep taking action. Because the greatest victory isn't just outsmarting others. It's outsmarting your own limitations. You have the power. You have the tools. Now go live strategically and win every day.